A cool thing you can do with text in After Effects is put a string of text on a path, and then you can animate that text along the path, move it along the path. Now, if you don't get what a path is, I'm going to explain it in this lesson. To follow along, go to Working Files, open up After Effects Projects, and then open up 0604 Text Path. Now, because paths are really a subject unto themselves and have certain kinds of complexities, I'm going to try to simplify it here and leave it for a later lesson to talk about paths in more detail. So I've got two comps here. I've got one comp where we're going to create a path together and put the text on the path and animate it along the path. And I've got a second comp where I've already created a path and I've animated that path to have it follow motion inside the video clip and then have the text follow that motion as well. So this first thing here is just a static image, and we're going to put a path on this, so we don't need to worry about putting the path in motion, but then we will put the text in motion. So let's get started. The first thing you do when you create text on a path is to create the text, and then you create the path. So I'm going to create some text here. To do that, I'm going to click on the Type tool as opposed to opening up a new layer. I just kind of prefer clicking on the Type tool. And I want to check first before I do that. I'm going to have, let's say, white text with a blue stroke. I'm using Black Oak Standard, 36 points. It's probably going to be a little too small. Let me bring that up a little bit to, let's say, 70 or something, 60 or something like that. There you go. Not too exact, but right around there. So that'll be a good starting point for me. I want to make some bulky text, so I'm using that. Click on the Type tool now, and I want to click away from this white line because we're going to put the path right there. So I'm going to put it down here so it's just kind of out of the way there. I'm going to say, here is some text on a path. There you go. And I'm going to accept that by clicking on the text layer by pressing the Enter key on the numeric keypad. And now I want to change its size a bit, so I'm going to hover my cursor here, hold on the Control or the Command key to turn it into the Selection tool temporarily, and lift that up a bit and kind of adjust its size just a touch there. And I think that'll work. Let me get it out of the way a little bit here so we can work on the path. All right, there we've created the text. Now we need to create the path, and the path goes on the text layer. So we have to make sure that the text layer is active, which it is, but I'm going to click on it just to really highlight it like that. And now we're going to go get the pen tool. The pen tool is the thing that we use to create the path. So the pen tool is right there. And there are several pen tools, actually, but the one we want is the generic pen tool like that. So I click on that to make the pen tool. What I want you to do is make sure that this checkbox for Roto Bezier is checked, because this simplifies things. As we make this path, all we have to do is click some points, and it automatically creates curves along the way there as we make this path. Normally, when you're working with the pen tool, you want to drag it to create little curves from one point to the next, which is a little tedious and also a little sort of higher level here. We're going to go with the simplified approach, use Roto Bezier. Now notice that the pen tool stays the pen tool even outside of the frame. That's because you can put points on here outside of the frame and kind of lead into it, which is a good thing. So I'm going to click over here outside the frame right there. And we can start on the left side or the right side, doesn't matter. Now that I've got point number 1 here, I'm going to go inside here and click on this little line. You don't have to be exact here. I'm just using this as kind of a reference. There we go. We're just going along this little path here that was inside this lovely graphic. Now we're going to go out the end here. And now we're done. I kind of made that a little bit low. I'm going to click on it and drag it up like that. There we go. Now I'm going to click on the selection tool. It basically tells the world here that we're done. So now we've created this path, and the path is inside the text layer. Let me show you how that works. Open up the disclosure triangle for the text layer. Now we have a new property group called masks. That wouldn't normally be there. Text and transform are always there when you create a text layer. But this is new because we added a path, and in After Effects parlance, a path is called a mask. So let's just take a look at that by opening up that little disclosure triangle, and there is the mask. It's called Mask 1 by default. You can have multiple masks, and you can change their names if you want, but anyways, it's called Mask 1 by default. And we can open it up and you see there are all kinds of properties here. And the mask path is actually the thing that you can animate if you want to have that path move along a path or follow some motion inside a video clip, but we're not going to animate it here. Let's just close this down because the thing we're going to work with now is inside text. We open up the text. Inside text, there's a property group called Path Options, and it's always there whether we have a path or not. So I'm going to open this thing up. And what it asks you is, if you want to put your text on a path, select the path from here. This little drop-down list would have all the masks or all the paths that you've created. This particular case is only one, so we click on Mask 1, and watch what happens when we do this. It's so cool. Boom, it puts that text right on that path. Is that not great? And now we've got these options here under Path Options. I'll show you what reverse path means. Right now it's off. If I click reverse, it flips it underneath it, upside down like that. I'll put it back on. Perpendicular to path is on, meaning that the text is now perpendicular to each little element of the path. So as the text moves along, it's going to kind of lean back and forth as it goes over these little bumps. If I turn that off, then it's just going to be flat relative to the shape of the frame here. Put that back to on. It's much more interesting for it to be on, I think. Force alignment takes all the text string and makes it out along the entire path. So it's going to stretch it out to fit on the path if I do force alignment, which is something I don't want to do right now. The first margin and the last margin are what you use to animate the text on the path. From my point of view, they're equal. You just either move something from the end or from the beginning. It really works out the same way. So I'm going to take this first margin. I'm going to drag it using my scrubby. Drag it left. Drag it right. So we're positioning it someplace at the beginning of this little timeline. So I want to drag it all the way to the right so that it's off the screen here. And to kind of speed things up, I can hold down the Shift key, and that moves things faster off to the side there. There we go. I'm going to turn on keyframes there for that little first moment. Let's bring it in a little bit. Let's say we got about a 5-second comp here. We'll bring it in about 2 seconds like that. And slide it on in. You slide it to the left there. Here it is. Kind of right in the middle of the screen there. And I want to hold it there for a while. So I'm going to turn this keyframe into a hold keyframe like that. I'm kind of doing this a little backwards. You probably should create a second keyframe first, then hold. But I'll show you the way around that. Let's go a little farther for the time we want to hold it. Let's say hold it for a second or so. I'm going to copy this keyframe by going Control-C. As long as it's yellow, that's the one that's currently selected. Control or Command on Mac. And I'm going to paste it here by doing Control or Command V. There it is. And it's also going to be a hold. I'm going to right click on this guy and go to keyframe interpolation so we can make it a linear again so that it actually leaves this keyframe and moves on to the next one. So no longer hold, we'll make it linear. Say OK. Now it's going to be a diamond shaped thing. Now we want to get this guy to scroll off the page. And so we're going to continue this by dragging it to the left. Hold on the Shift key to make it go faster. And there you have it. So let's watch this animation. It's going to have to be a little bit of a preview first, so it won't be real time, but let's just play it and see what happens. There we go. It's going to stop when it gets to the middle there, and it's going to continue on its way. Very good. Off it goes. And I could use keyframe interpolation here. I could do easy ease in here, easy ease out, and out here and in here to kind of smooth things out. But you get a sense of how that works now, right? You can get rid of this little yellow line. That's the mask, the path. And you get rid of the red box here in 2 different ways. Get rid of the path by turning off this little guy there. That shows the path. Now it's gone. To get rid of the box, you just need to not have the layer selected. And now we'll see how it looks like without all those guys showing up. And now it's going to be real time because it's now RAM previewed. Let's see what it looks like. Comes in, settles down, moves on. Notice how it follows the path. It has that lovely thing where it kind of bends along with the letter H-E-R-E. It kind of just goes up and down there like a little roller coaster. Very cool what you can do with text on a path. All right, let's take a look at this other one here that I've created in advance. This is this little video. I'm going to turn off the text layer for the time being here. Just show you that's a video, this little ridge line, panning from right to left. What I want to do is have the text follow the ridge. But as we're going along here, obviously we need to have the path move along with it too. We do that using path keyframes. Let's open up the text layer here. Close this down so you can see the masks. There's mask 1, the only one we got. And the mask path is animated. What I did here, let me turn on this so you can see it. I created the path like so, using the same Roto Bezier approach we used before. Let me turn off the keyframes. And then as I went along here, I took the path and moved the whole thing. So I'm going to get right on top of this keyframe so I don't add a keyframe by mistake here. I took this thing, just moved the whole thing. You can move the whole thing around like that. And when I was doing this, by the way, the text wasn't on there yet, but it is now. I can take it off if you want. We can just go here and take it off there and say, nope, none. Now it'll be up here all by itself again. We'll do that later. So back here, we're going along to the next keyframe now. If I select mask, then you can select the whole path like that. But along the way, I also adjusted some of these points. So I clicked off of the mask and clicked on the layer. That allows me to select an individual point and move it around. So not only do I move the entire path, but I adjusted some individual points to kind of fine-tune things as I went along here, to have that path follow the ridge line. It doesn't take a lot of keyframes to make that happen to a reasonable degree of accuracy. All right, let's put the text back on the path now by going Text, Path Options, and we select that one mask. Now it's back on it again. Now that I've done that, the animation won't be going on again, so I'll put the animation back in place. Have the first margin be animated, turn that on, slide off to the right, like so. Move it in a little ways like this, and we'll have it go all the way across without stopping, just so we can speed up this process here. There we go. Let's just see how this works now. I'm going to turn off the path like that. turn off the visibility of the layer like that, and we'll just kind of watch that guy moving across the screen here. It's going to be a slow process because it needs the RAM preview. So I'm going to pause the recording here, then we'll come back and do it again. All right, now that we've got this guy RAM previewed, let me bring this back and we'll try it and see how it looks like in real time. Here we go. There you are, following the ridge line pretty nicely, and also just moving along the path. So that is how you can put text on a path and have the text then move along that path.